Good morning, everyone. My name is Jamie Weisberg, and I'm here with Michael Corbett. Hopefully you can all hear the audio okay. In just a moment here, I'm going to share my desktop. Sorry about that. Okay, great. Thank you for joining us today. As I said, my name is Jamie Weisberg. I'm a Regional Sales Manager for Palisade Corporation. I'm here with Michael Corbett. He is our Academic Sales Manager. And together we are going to do a webcast for you today about integrating Palisade tools into the classroom. I'm going to go over our agenda. At the beginning, I want to go over an overview of Palisade Corporation, just so you're familiar with the type of company that we have. I think it's important to understand a software company in terms of their longevity and knowing that they will be around for a while, especially if it's something you're considering integrating into your classroom. And then I'm going to go into an introduction of what at-risk is, what the DecisionTools Suite is, and why would you maybe want to incorporate this into your teaching. Then I will do a demonstration of modeling with at-risk, so you can see the software in action, maybe get a few ideas of what you could show your students. And then Michael's going to take over and go into all of our academic licensing options, because we do have quite a few different setups that you can go with. And finally, we'll go with some questions at the end. So since there's going to be multiple people in this session, it'd be best if you could reserve the questions. If there's some sort of technical problem or issue, feel free to type in a question while we're going. But otherwise, we will have a question and answer period at the end. So as I said, I wanted to talk a little bit about our company. We are Palisade Corporation. We've been around since 1984, which is a really long time for the software industry. It's a relatively young industry, so 27 years strong is a long time. One nice thing about our company is that the president and CEO of our company actually is the creator of the software and still develops it to this day. He's built a very successful company, and obviously he could vacation indefinitely, but he still comes in every day and works on our software. Our company is extremely customer-centric. All of our products over the years have been built upon customer feedback. We actually have a database. If I get a suggestion from one of my customers, I can go in there, put in that suggestion, and when they go to write a new version of the software, they do take into account all the customer feedback. We are a small, privately owned company with a large impact, but still a smaller company relative to a lot of software companies. And one nice thing about our company is that our support department supports only Palisade products. So if you call our support team, you're likely to talk to the same person. If you're calling someone to talk about academic sales, you're going to call and talk to Michael. So it's a nice personal experience that we're able to provide you at Palisade Corporation. Although we are a small company and privately owned, we have hundreds of thousands of users and hundreds of countries over across the entire continent. Our software company was started in Ithaca, New York. That's where our home base is. You may be familiar with Cornell University. A lot of people in this company are Cornell alum. And we've, over the years, grown. We have satellite offices now in London, Sydney, Rio, and we recently opened an office in Tokyo. Our software has also been translated into 7 languages, so it's nice if you're exposing it to your students, knowing that this is software that's used all over the world. We recently translated our software into Chinese, which has opened up a huge market for us. And since our software is an add-in to Excel, anybody that models in Excel can use our software. So we have customers across all disciplines: government, military, academia, only in teaching, and also used in planning at universities as well. We also have 90% of over Fortune 500 companies using our software in some capacity. You'll see a bunch of companies listed here. So what I'm going to focus on today is at-risk and telling you about that product. Although for our academic options, especially our course licenses, we offer the entire DecisionTools Suite. I will talk about those tools as well, just mentioning what they are and that we offer them. But our course licenses, we like to provide the entire DecisionTools Suite. But most people know it for at-risk. It's our flagship product. If you say Palisade, most people will say at-risk. And what is at-risk? If you're unfamiliar, at-risk performs Monte Carlo simulation. It allows you to replace single point estimates in your spreadsheets with a range of possible outcomes and their likelihood of occurrence. Why would you want to use at-risk? Well, we can take a look here at our example, and this is a model looking at net present value for a product launch, and with the best case or worst case scenario, which this model may very well be, we just have a single point estimate for NPV, and at this point, it looks like $363,000, and with net present value, if it's positive, you might generally go with the project, and so with this type of model, it looks like a really good scenario for us, so we might go ahead with this new product launch. But it's not really giving us very much information. But if you add Monte Carlo simulation into the mix, we're now able to see the range of outcomes for this net present value and how likely they are to occur. So we can see actually 5% of the time we might lose money on this venture. And depending on your risk appetite, you might say, 5%, that's not too bad, let's go with the project. 90% of the time, it looks like we're going to make between $0 and $1 million. Sounds pretty good. Or, if you don't want to risk that 5% chance of loss, maybe you won't go for the project. But a lot more information here than we had with that single point estimate. We're also able to see what impacts are affecting our what inputs are most affecting our outputs by running a sensitivity analysis. And in this case, we can see that the number of competitors is what's adding most variation to our NPV. And in that case, we might decide to do something to mitigate the effects of the competitor, maybe launch a new marketing campaign. This is just one scenario for Monte Carlo simulation and one idea, but I'm showing you, just want you to get the idea that there's a lot more insight that can be gleaned by adding Monte Carlo simulation into your model. We also have a really nice graphics engine in our software, so it allows you to visually display this information. Maybe you're working for a company, or one of your students is going to be working for a company someday, and they want to communicate the message to the decision makers in their company, but they don't quite understand the math or the statistics behind it. We have some really nice graphs to show that information. Our software is 100% integrated into Excel. You never have to leave Excel. We're compatible with versions 2000 to 2010, both 32 and 64-bit. And because you never have to leave Excel, the learning curve is pretty rapid, considering most people, if they're going to use the software, are already modeling in Excel. And you'll see in a little bit how easy it is to really learn the product. As I mentioned, the DecisionTools Suite is our entire decision analysis toolkit. If you are to adopt a course license, we give you the entire suite. We want the students to be able to see all the different tools. Even if you're just teaching with one or two of the tools, we still want you to have the exposure to the students. I kind of compare it to the Microsoft Office of decision analysis. You might use Word and Excel all the time, but every once in a while you want to do a PowerPoint demonstration. And it's the same with our tools. Maybe you're using at-risk and precision tree a lot, but every once in a while you want to use stat tools. So our DecisionTools Suite is composed of either 6 or 7 tools, depending on which edition you go with. For academia, we give all 7. And I'll just go through each tool quickly so you have an idea of what they are, and then I'm going to go into looking at some models in at-risk. So our first, one of the tools, so obviously at-risk is the first tool. We also have Risk Optimizer, which is a stochastic optimization tool. So it allows you to use genetic algorithm optimization combined with Monte Carlo simulation to look for an optimal result under uncertainty. So many of you have used probably Solver to optimize. This allows you to add in the Monte Carlo simulation aspect right into your optimization. In the suite, we also have Precision Tree, which does decision trees and influence diagrams, allowing you to visually map out the complex decision-making processes. you can actually use some of our tools in tandem, and precision tree is a good example where you can use precision tree and then add in some uncertainty without risk as well. Top Rank performs what-if sensitivity analysis, allowing you to see what inputs are adding most variation to your outputs. DecisionTools replaces Excel's built-in statistics package. We have provided tools that are more robust and accurate, so a lot of statistical analyses can be done with stat tools, regression analysis, forecasting, and such. Neural Tools is a neural networking tool. It allows you to take data that you have, train that data with our neural network. It'll then find patterns within your data and allow you to make predictions based on those patterns that are in your data. And Evolver is another optimization tool that we offer, but it's a deterministic tool. We don't add in the Monte Carlo simulation. It just does the genetic algorithm optimization, but still providing a more global solution than you would find with Solver. And finally, we offer a program called At-Risk for Project. All of our other tools are add-ins for Excel, but we do offer At-Risk for Project, which is an add-in to Microsoft Project, allowing you to add uncertainty into your project schedule. And a lot of times, if you go with a DecisionTools Suite course license, we will throw in an At-Risk for Project license if you're interested in seeing it. In version 6.0, which will be released in the fall, we're actually going to integrate At-Risk for Project into our DecisionTools Suite. So it's all going to be one super package. And with that said, I am going to open up a model. And we have At-Risk opened up. And so what I want to do now is show you some a couple basic models, give you some ideas of how the software works if you're not familiar, and then maybe give you some ideas of simple ways, such as the way I'm just showing you, how you could show your students the power of At-Risk. And I think it's something it's quite easy to learn, quite easy to teach, and we'll just go ahead and I'll show you some models, and after that, Michael will take over. So what I have here is a very basic profit and loss model, and this model is assuming that we're a company and we're going to buy and resell a product. So we have retail price, which is what we think we could sell the item for. Let's say, for example, we're buying and reselling sneakers. So the retail price is the price that we think we can get for the sneakers in the market. The number of units sold is the number of units we think we could sell. The unit cost is what we're going to get sneakers, the price we're going to get from our vendor for the sneakers, so how much it's going to cost us to buy these sneakers. And then we have some simple formulas. The sales minus the cost to ourselves is our profit and loss. And historically, this type of model would be built based upon a best case scenario or a worst case if you're trying to look at it that way, maybe an average of retail prices you've had in the past, some sort of past experience, but it's just single point estimates. And it looks like we're going to, in this case, make close to $12,000 on this venture. Sounds pretty good, but really still not a lot of information. And what At-Risk is going to do is allow us to draw a lot more information out of this model before we decide if we're going to go ahead with this sneaker selling venture. So the first thing I'm going to do is unhide some data. And we need to first, I'm sorry, I'll take a step back here. The first thing we're going to need to do is define some inputs and define some outputs. That's the first thing you do when wanting to run a Monte Carlo simulation. So if we click on retail price and click define distribution, we're now able to select a distribution to put in this cell from our distribution palette that's over here. You'll see in blue we have continuous distributions, in red we have discrete distributions. We have some different tabs here. We have an At-Risk library where we can store distributions, and I'll show you that in a little bit. We have discrete and continuous grouped separately. With every distribution there's this little question mark. You'll find that a lot in our software. If you click on that, it'll bring up information about the distribution. And It's at this point that we're going to try to decide what distribution to put in this cell to replace the single point estimate that we were using before. And there's a couple ways to decide which distribution to use. The first one being we could use some sort of industry standard. Maybe, for example, you're in Six Sigma and your industry standard is to use a normal distribution. That's just one way. Another way would be to do some sort of research on what other people are using for distributions in similar situations. So maybe you're in a LinkedIn group and you go on and ask for some advice on which distribution to use. We can also incorporate expert opinion, which is what we're going to do right now, and I unhid those cells prematurely, I apologize, but we're going to do that right now and incorporate expert opinion. So maybe somebody in our company knows information on these 3 price points and what we've charged in the past. As far as retail price, we might have a minimum, a most likely, and a maximum. Units sold, also a minimum, most likely, and a maximum, as well as unit cost. So we're able to take these 3 points and define a distribution with that. So in this case, we're going to select a triangular distribution because we have a minimum, a most likely, and a maximum. And the nice thing about risk is that we can use cell referencing. So if we click on this little box here, we can just select our minimum, our most likely, and our maximum. We don't need this static value here, it just automatically populates. And now if we click OK, we have a triangular distribution embedded in that cell. So what we've done is we've added our own functions to the Excel functions library, and you'll see that in a couple different ways as I go through this example. So now instead of a single point estimate, we have a triangular distribution as our first input put into cell C4. Since we've used cell referencing, the nice thing we can now do is drag this over. It works just the same way Excel does. With one minor change, we have to format this cell as a number. And so now we have 3 different input distributions instead of these single point estimates. So that's the first part of setting up your model, is defining your inputs. The next thing we have to do is define our outputs. What do we want to look at? What do we want to glean from this model? Well, we want to look at, let's say we want to look at total cost, and we obviously want to look at the profit and loss column and see if we're going to lose money or make money on this venture. So easily we can just click Add Output. It'll automatically populate a name here, pulling it from your header. We like that. Same thing, we'll add this as an output. And now, as simple as that, we have our model set up. We've defined our inputs, we've defined our outputs, and now we're ready to run a Monte Carlo simulation. So we go up to this area here, and we select the number of iterations we want to run. We can select that manually, or we can pick the auto button, and what this will do, it'll run enough iterations until our simulation says that we have statistically sound information. We don't have to continue running any further iterations. So we'll select that, and we're going to run a simulation. And you can see here that it's updating this graph. This is our output histogram for our profit and loss. And it's running a bit slow because we're manually updating the histogram. We're updating our information over here. So we're going to go ahead and turn that off, and you'll see that it significantly speeds up our simulation. And now we have our output histogram. We're looking at the profit and loss. And if we change this to 0, now we can see, well, almost 27% of the time we're actually going to lose money on our sneaker buying operation. So maybe we decide that, and I know this is not a very good project for us, but before it looked like $11,000 was going to be our profit. So definitely a lot more information from that single point estimate. That might have just been our best case scenario. We can go here and look at our tornado diagram and see that the unit cost is what's most affecting our profit and loss. So maybe we're going to want to talk to that vendor, and I'm going to show you something in a minute that we can do to look at securing a better unit cost and how that affects our profit or loss. We can also back to this. We can do all sorts of stuff with this graph now that we've generated it. We can export it to Excel. It's a native Excel graph. You can fully modify it the same way you would with an Excel graph. We can change all sorts of things about our title, our X and Y axes, curves, legends, delimiters. You can add markers. Maybe you want to look at the 95th and 95th percentile. It'll add some markers for you. You can change any of this data that is added on the screen here. Just a whole lot of things that you can do to this graph now that you've generated it. So that's kind of a very basic simulation, a basic model. I'm going to show you a couple more things that we can do to enhance the information we're gathering from this model. I'm hiding the wrong column again, I apologize. So one thing, as I mentioned, we've added our own functions to the native Excel functions library. So there's a lot of things you can do by just simply typing in some simple commands now. And one thing here we have is this risk mean function. So if we want to find the average of our profit and loss, we simply type in equals risk mean, referencing H4, which is our profit and loss column, and it'll tell us that that's $3,251 for our mean. We can look at percentiles. We use the risk percentile function. This is saying what is the 90th percentile of our profit and loss, which is 11K. We could change that to just 5 and look at our 5th percentile, which is negative 5,000. We can look for a target value by using this risk target, and we're looking at what is the percentage of time we're going to have a profit more than $10,000, and it looks like it's 10% of the time. So some very easy ways to just write in cells and quickly gather the information that we need. And we'll go ahead and unhide what I was unhiding too early. And another thing we can do is a scenario analysis. So we can take a look at changing one piece of information in this model and running multiple scenarios and seeing the effect of that. So what we want to do in this case is set up something called a sim table. And over here we have our risk sim table set up. It's one of our specialized functions under, I think, special. Yes, it's a risk sim table. We have all sorts of specialty functions that we've added to our newer versions. And in the risk sim table, what we're going to do is we found out previously that the unit cost is what's most affecting our profit and loss. So maybe we need to talk to our vendor and establish some discounts. So we're going to run 3 different scenarios. We're going to take a look at what happens to our profit and loss if we don't have a discount. What if we have a 5% discount, and what if we have a 10% discount? And we're able to do that by running 3 simulations at one time. And as I said, this is called the risk sim table. So we want to go here. Why is it not letting me? Like, sim table. I'm not sure why. Let me just see here why it's not allowing me to edit that. I apologize. Let's quickly close and open that again. We'll open it this way. I apologize. This is I just started using that model. So here's a similar model set up with this risk sim table. Same thing we had going before here. This one will certainly allow me to change that. Okay, so as I said, we're doing a risk sim table. We are going to run 3 simulations at one time looking at the effect of having a 0%, 5%, or 10% discount. So we can go ahead, start the simulation. As I said, we can speed this up here by turning off those auto updates. And if we go to our summary, we now have 3 different simulations. Simulation 1 that we ran, 2, and 3. And what we can now do, which is kind of cool, is pull these 3 different simulations out And I just have to add one more delimiter because by default it only has 2. And now if I set this to 0, we can see some pretty powerful information. If we don't get a discount from our vendor, here we are with that 26% chance of loss that we saw at the beginning. If we can secure a 5% discount from our vendor, we're looking at only about a 6% chance of losing money. And if we can get a 10% discount, we really have virtually no chance, very, very slim chance, of losing money on our sneaker buying operation. So in this case, we might take that information, go to the vendor, and say, you know what, I need a 10% discount or we're not going to go with this project. So as you can see, we're adding layers of information to this. Really the possibilities are endless, what you can do with our software, and that's what's called the risk sim table. So we'll close out of that. Just wanted to give you some more ideas of things you could show students, things you can do with the software. And what I want to go into next is a model that's got a little bit more meat to it. That's a very basic model. And where I'm going to pull that from is our example models. All of our software come with example spreadsheets. They're not templates, but they're examples to help you generate ideas of what you can do. So our help menu here is a really nice feature. It comes with documentation for all of our software. The manual is on there, fully printable, searchable, 705-page manual. We have our video tutorials. These are a great thing. Not a lot of people even know about these, I found. If you go to our video tutorials, you will see that they all have a menu format here. So each product, you can watch a video on, here we go, define a distribution, swap out functions, which I can show you in a minute. You can pick and choose what you want to watch to learn about. Maybe you just forgot about how to run a simulation or do scatter plots. So all of our software have these nice tutorials. It's a great place for you to send your students to understand the software. They can do the 2-minute overview to start with. It's a really good reference. So as I said, I'm going to pull a spreadsheet from here, and we're going to look at this one called finance.xls. It'll look familiar if you've been here from the beginning as I showed this model in my PowerPoint. And just to reiterate, this is a net present value model looking at the profitability of a new product launch. So in 2012 and 2013, we are developing this product. Maybe our sneaker selling venture didn't go so hot, so we're going to make our own sneakers. And you can see here that we've got a lot more information in this model than our previous model. We've got a lot more inputs, which are all in green. We've got some normal distributions in here. We've also added in some discrete distributions in our number of competitor column because that's a finite number. You might have 0 or 1 or 2 competitors, so it's a discrete distribution. And then we have some more outputs. In red, we've got our net income throughout the years, as well as our NPV as our output. So a lot more inputs, a lot more outputs. You can have as many inputs and outputs as your spreadsheet will allow. So let's go ahead and start a simulation. This model's already been previously set up. And as I said, it's an example model. Feel free to, if you have downloaded a trial or if you have our software, you can pull these models right off of there. Once again, I'm going to speed up the simulation so we're not here all day. And here we go. We have what we looked at before in our opening PowerPoint where we're looking at about a 5% chance of loss. But somewhere around 90% chance of making from $0 to $1 million looks like a pretty good venture. This is where I pulled the tornado diagram from before, showing that the number of competitors is our key factor, adding the most variation to our net present value. We can do a lot of stuff with this information. We could take a look at net income over time, and under Browse Results, we can do a summary trend, highlight this data. Try that again. and it'll show us a summary of our net income over time. It's going in the right direction, which is a good thing. We also have a lot of nice reporting capabilities. If you click on Excel reports, we have something called a quick report section. If you click on that, it's going to generate these one-page pre-formatted reports. They look like you spent all day creating them, and really you pressed one button. So there's one generated, as I said, for each output. We've got histograms, summary, data, simulation summary. We have our profit and loss, and tornado diagram down here. I'm just going to, close out of the other model that I have open. If you have multiple models open, it'll run a simulation on every model that you have open. So those are the quick reports. Another thing you can do is adding correlation. So obviously, things don't always happen in a vacuum, and some things are correlated. So for example, if you have product development expenses going up, so too might your capital expenses. So with our software, you can easily define a correlation and add a correlation matrix into the mix. So you just highlight the cells you want to correlate, click on Define Correlation, and you can either add in your correlation coefficient or you can use these scatter plots to visually add in correlation. Click OK. Select a location for your matrix, and now we've added, we've got these two line items positively correlated with each other. So very easy. You can have a very large correlation matrix. Some people have a full workbook sheet just for correlations, and they get pretty complex. I think another nice feature that I'll show you is the distribution fitting capability. And that's another way that you can add a distribution in. If you have historical data, our software allows you to fit a distribution to it. So I'm going to open up another model. It's just a model with some data. So let's say that these are some prices that we have, some price points that we have in the past for those sneakers that we've sold. And all we have to do to fit a distribution of this data is highlight it, go to Distribution Fitting, fit a distribution to data, and now we've run 3 different fit tests to see what distribution we can recommend for you. So we have the chi-squared, the Anderson-Darling, and one that I barely can pronounce, so I just call it the KS test. I'm sure some of you professors out there can say that quite well. So let's look at chi-squared. So in this circumstance, the fit test is recommending the beta general distribution. So you might go ahead with that, but as I said, one thing to take into account are industry standards. So maybe the beta general is recommended first, but you are a Six Sigma person and always use normal distributions. Also recommended highly. So we can go ahead and choose that. We're going to pick a place to put that distribution. And now we've taken that data, fit a distribution to it, and embedded it into this cell. We can go one step further with that and actually add this distribution now to our at-risk library. So we're going to take this distribution, add it to the library, and what we can then do is pull it up later for use or to share across our organization. We'll call this today, Thursday. So we've now added that, and now when we go to define a new distribution, if we go to our library, we can see that our distribution has been stored here. Select it, and then we can use it again. So you can fit the data, you can save it, and then use it again later if you want to use that distribution. And I think I'm going to go right back to show you another feature of our software in that model we were just looking at. think it's a good feature to know. Back to our example spreadsheets, finance. One question we get a lot is, what if I have this software and I want to share it with a colleague that doesn't, share my model with a colleague that does not have at-risk? We've built in this swap function that makes it very easy for you to swap out the at-risk functions, and you can replace them with expected values, send the model off, and then swap them back in. So I'll just show you that quickly. To use our swap function, click OK. We've now swapped out those at-risk functions that we had in here before with just the formula and expected values. Now, say we send our model off to our boss and they make a change here and they think, well, this number's $100,000. Send it back to you and you go to swap it back in. We're going to tell you that somebody made a change, and maybe you think your boss doesn't know what he's talking about. So we go back to our original before the swap. We swap in our functions, and now everything's back to the way it was. So a nice way to share your data, your models without someone else having to have the software, and easily being able to swap those functions back in and out. I'm going to take maybe a few more minutes here just to show you a couple other ideas of the types of models. I understand that there's a variety of things that you're teaching out there. We have people using this in teaching from forestry departments, finance, statistics, some very well-known applications to some pretty obscure stuff. So on our example spreadsheets, you'll see things here. We have a professor that works with us often, and maybe some of you have heard of him. He's quite well known in the decision sciences area, is Wayne Winston, and he every year simulates the NCAA tournament with our software. His students get a big kick out of it. Might be something that, a fun model to show, and also to show how just broad the range can be for what you can do with our software. Very popular in cost estimation. It's very easy to take a cost estimation model and replace these values with, like here we've taken your base case, so we've got what we would like to spend on land, building, raw materials, etc. in our cost estimation model. And then if we just want to look at the minimum, most likely, and maximum, we can define those with percentages. So our minimum would be 90% of the base case, our most likely 100, and our maximum 125. We then generate these values in each of these columns based on, obviously the minimum being 90% of $2,000 is $1,800. And what we can then do is, similar to a triangular distribution, we can use a PERT distribution. It's a little smoother, and we've replaced these cells with PERT distributions. We can run a simulation, and then we can then see a lot more information on what this project might cost us, what type of contingency we want to add in, our probabilities of meeting, the probability of meeting our base case number, and we did that with a risk target again, and we see here that there's about a 19% chance that we're going to hit our base case number that we want to hit. We can look at percentiles again. Here's the 95th. And down here we have the contingency required for a 95th percent confidence interval at $1,200. So we would need a $1,200 contingency for this project. So another popular example. Like I said, I would take a look over the example models when you're trying to get ideas for what models to show your students. You can always contact us to see if we have any example models that you can use. We have all sorts of references that Michael's going to talk about, our different academic licensing options. And I think at this point, what I'm going to do is hand things over to Michael. He's going to go through our licensing options and just let you know the different ways that you can integrate the software into the classroom. I hope that this demo that I provided gave you maybe just some insight into easy ways that you can show the software, show you some of the things that the software can do if you weren't familiar with it before. So at this point, we're going to hop back into our PowerPoint, and I apologize here. We'll go into PowerPoint. And I'd now like to introduce you to Michael Corbett. He's our Academic Sales Manager, and he's going to take you through information on our licensing options. Thank you very much. Michael?
Thank you, Jamie. Good morning, everyone. As you'll see on the slide that we have displayed now, there are many, many universities using DecisionTools, far more than we could put on a slide. We do have a web page that is dedicated to a list that we have linked there. You're certainly welcome to visit, and maybe your own university is already using the software somewhere on campus. But you'll find that there are a great number of schools that do use the DecisionTools in the classroom. As to licensing options, probably our most popular one is the course license, which allows professors to bring the software both into the classroom for the students' use and into the lab. A course license is two-part. It has a network lab license, which allows a specified number of concurrent users in a lab setting to access the DecisionTools Suite, and independent workstation software for student downloads, so your students can install the DecisionTools Suite on their laptop. As part of the course license package, we include a perpetual license for the primary instructor, so they have their own copy of the software that they can install on their desktop. For our academic friends, we also make available a second installer, which allows you to have it on your laptop for your convenience. The package also includes free live web training for the instructor. This is very similar to what Jamie's presented here today, only in a much more expanded, more comprehensive format. It's typically 4-hour sessions on back-to-back days for part 1 with a similar format for part 2. So it's very comprehensive. It really allows you to go more in-depth and get a very good, very solid understanding of the software and how it works and functions. Also included in the course license package is a book bundle, 4 of our most popular titles published by Palisade. 3 of them are Wayne Winston books that include Decision Making Under Uncertainty with Risk Optimizer, Financial Models Using Simulation and Optimization 1 and 2, and also includes Learning Statistics with Stat Tools by Christian Albright. And you may be familiar with some of those titles or some of those author names. Pricing is based on a number of users. It can be any number that you specify. The minimum number of users is 10 for course license pricing, and the package it starts below $500. So it's one of the most attractive ways to get the software into the classroom, on your personal machines, and to your students.
And I actually just wanted to say one thing. I do know that we had people signing up for this webcast. I saw a lot of people in Europe and different places throughout the world. So Michael has mentioned U.S. dollar pricing, our pricing for U.S. and Canada. But if you have specific questions regarding bringing it to your university, if you're international, please contact one of us, and we can put you in touch with your regional sales manager in your area. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Michael.
Thanks, Jamie. Academic license is another option we have, and this is for faculty, researchers, and administrators who will be using the software just for their own purposes, won't actually be using it in the classroom. And all of the products that we sell in terms of software, except for at-risk standard, are available at academic pricing, which offers a 50% discount off of retail. Again, these licenses are fully perpetual. They bear no watermarks. There's no limitations of any kind. Included in the academic license is 1-year software maintenance. The maintenance plan allows for free updates, free upgrades, and full unlimited technical support through the 1-year period. Software maintenance can be renewed annually at a price that's equal to 20% of the prevailing academic price for the license you purchased. We also offer student licenses. This is a very attractive option for many universities and many individuals. The student license is fully functional. There are no limitations in terms of number of models that can be run or model size. student licenses will expire after 1 year. These licenses do bear watermarks on the output graphs and charts. We do have a large number of students, so technical support is available by email only for student license holders. They're easily purchased online. You'll see a link here that's also easily found on our homepage, and these licenses sell for $50. One of the common questions I've been getting from students, if they have needed the software for longer than 1 year, they can purchase another license when the first one expires, as any output information is generally stored locally on your computer. Nothing's lost. You simply have a new license and you can pick up where you left off. We also offer a number of books. You'll find a comprehensive list of the various books on our website. Some are simply books that are published by Palisade. Some are linked to Amazon.com, for example, if they're books that use our software, either in reference or bundled with a book. There's a comprehensive list at palisade.com/books. And one of the other things that we do for some customers, they may find a book that's published by Palisade or sold through Palisade, and they would like to use the book in the classroom. We can create customized bundles where we can provide a 1-year student license with a particular book title that you may be interested in. And of course, all that you have to do is contact me, and I'd be glad to work with you on pricing and availability. And that about covers the licensing options. I know it was kind of a whirlwind. I'm happy to answer any additional questions that you may have either by email or by phone. And at this time, I'm guessing there's probably plenty of folks with plenty of questions, both for Jamie and myself. So we're going to see if we can find some questions and give some answers.
Sorry, just hold us for 1 second. We're just trying to go back to the list here and see if we have questions. Sorry, Davison's coming in here to get us our questions and answers area back.
Good. Then that one too.
Okay, at this time, does anybody have questions? Okay, great. Could you email me a link to video of this presentation online ASAP for review? Absolutely, Robert. This has been recorded, so a little bit later this afternoon we'll get that recording, and we can certainly send you a link so you can listen to it again. Any other questions? Okay, I guess we don't have a lot of questions. Oh, okay, great. Any online forum? Yes, we do have an online forum, and I'll show you, actually, we've created a section for professors as well recently. So if we go to, oh, am I sharing my desktop? I don't know if I'm sharing right now. Hold on 1 second. Is it sharing? Let me just go ahead and go back to sharing my desktop here so you can see. Okay, I think I am, yes. Okay, so if you go to support and then user forums, we have our online user forum, and we do have a section here for instructors as well. It's relatively new, so I don't think there's a lot of information in there, but hopefully professors and instructors will start using that section and they can gather ideas from each other. It's kind of the purpose of that, because a lot of professors come to us asking of tips and ideas of how to integrate the software into the classroom, one reason why we've done this webcast today, but hopefully the instructors can use this forum as a way to share information amongst each other.
And this particular forum is restricted strictly to professors and instructors. So in order to participate, you first need to create a login and then email us your email login and ask for access to the instructors forum. And we'll be sure that you're subscribed and have that available to you.
I hope that helps. Anybody else has questions? Do you have any suggested textbooks for teaching a course on decision analysis using Palisade? Do you want me to?
Yeah.
I would actually, I think one of the best textbooks out there is, and it's very popular, it's called, hold on, it's written by Wayne Winston. It's escaping my head. Hold on one second. Actually, this is where you can see, if you go to this part on our website, I'm not sharing my desktop again. Hold on one second. There we go. If you go to books, textbooks bundled with DecisionTools, it is data analysis and decision making. I know from the publisher of the book, it's one of their best-selling books on decision sciences. I know Wayne Winston personally. He's an excellent professor. It's an excellent book. I use it myself when I'm looking up stuff. And I know that it's also written by Christian Albright and Christopher Zappe. I think it's a great book. So I would definitely take a look at that one. I know you can contact Cengage Publishing. They'll send you an instructor copy. And all of those books come with a 2-year, I think, license of the DecisionTools Suite. So I'd recommend that one, but also feel free to look at all the books that we have here, and you'll see the ones that are bundled with our software and our recent version of software. Some of them probably have old discs in them from 1997, but I would take a look at this page. Hope that answers that question. Any others? Give it about another minute here for questions to see if anybody else has one. And then I think I will just put our contact information again back up on the screen. If you have questions related to anything regarding functionality of the software, you can contact me. But if you have questions on licensing, bringing the software to your school, I'd certainly contact Michael as he handles all of our academic sales here. Which are your experiences in food safety risk usage of the program? I do know that the FDA uses it, the Food and Drug Administration. I don't know if we have any models based that I can think of on food safety risk. I'll go back to sharing my desktop again and show you another great place to look. If you go under either case studies, it'll sort it by different areas. So you can look at academic, agriculture, government and defense, etc. So you might be able to glean some insight from some sort of case study that has something to do with, I don't know if we have anything on food safety off the top of my head, but maybe something germane to that idea. We also have our, where are they? Industry models. Another great place to look, sorted by different areas. You can see if there's anything in there that might be helpful. And another great area, which you're probably familiar with since you've signed on to this webcast, is our webcast area where we house webcasts that we've done in the past. We've archived them there. So you can, you'll see here where this is us. These are live webcasts. You can sign on and watch them as they happen and ask questions as you're doing now. Or you can go to our webcast archive, and we have everything sorted by product, as well as a Six Sigma section, because we have a lot of new Six Sigma functionality when we released 5.0. And so you can go through, here's a webcast teaching decision-making in MBA classes. This is one that was done by a professor and a good friend of mine, Phil Rogers. And so there's all sorts of different archive webcasts that may have something to do with your industry. Go through and look at the products, look at the header for what they're about, and maybe get some idea from there. I know I didn't specifically tell you anything about food safety, but I hope that maybe that'll help you to find some places where you could look for information. Do you have any further questions? Oh, you're very welcome. And we have someone from Bosnia, and greetings from the U.S. I hope you're very welcome, and I hope that you enjoyed the presentation. We do have a list of everyone that attended, and what I'll do, for example, Boris, is have your sales manager, I believe that's CBSR, follow up with you, and you know, if you have questions specific to adapting the software in your institution internationally, they can certainly provide you with the information that you need for over there. I'm sure that Michael will then follow up with anybody else that is signed on today to see if they have questions.
Thank you, Kia, for your questions as well.
Yep. So thank you, everyone, for signing on today, and we will, like I said, let me just put up one last thing. Let me put up our contact information again. Wrong way, that's why. There it is. I'm Jamie Weisberg. This is Michael Corbett. Thanks for signing on today. We hope you enjoyed the webcast and hopefully got the information out of it that you were looking for. So feel free to contact us. Have a great day, and we hope to talk to a lot of you soon. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.